Hey everyone, and welcome to Pixels, a podcast for the discerning gamer. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Pixels, a show where we talk about gaming, and possibly, if we have time on this episode, about a movie, just one very specific movie, which we will enjoy discussing with, well, myself, Patrick Beja, and Mark Turpin. How's it going, Turps?
Hello. It's going very well, thank you. It's good to be here. Just so I'm aware, so it's going to be Avengers Endgame. And if you haven't seen the film, who are you and how did you manage to not see the film yet? Because it's already grossed, what was it, like 1.2 billion domestically?
Yeah.
In its first week.
And I think
first like 5 days.
It's, it might be strange that we talk about a movie in a video game podcast, but that's the one, when I wrote the Constitution of Pixels, it was like Article 13 was actually if a movie... No, it's it was if a movie grosses more than $1.2 billion on opening weekend, then we have to talk about it. So that's why, if you were wondering. Yeah, and we'll do that at the end so we don't have spoilers for people who don't want to know anything. But
we're not going to talk about Game of Thrones, so don't worry about that if you haven't caught up on that.
Well, that's the thing. Has Game of Thrones grossed $1.2 billion on the opening of the episode? I would suspect probably not. Did it cost $1.2 billion? No, I thought it was like...
No, I just said it probably. There's a lot of CG. There's a lot of CG in there.
Mm-hmm. There is.
That whole like kind of 20-minute love scene between Tormund and the Night King. I was like, oh, sorry, no, we're not doing spoilers. Anyway,
no, we're not.
Nonetheless.
You know what we're going to be talking about, though? Three things. First, Mortal Kombat 11, which you've played. Days Gone, which I've played. Some various news from the video games industry. But also, before that, I did want to ask you something that's a little bit personal. Is it okay?
Yes, go for it.
What happened to your body? Like, I saw a couple of pictures, and I was shocked.
Time is a cruel mistress. Yeah.
And apparently, you reverse it because it's been very kind to you. Like, have you been working out all day, every day for the past year? What's happened?
Yeah, basically, so all the time I used to spend playing WoW and going on the instance, I instead started praying to Brodin and lifting iron prayers to him 5 times a day, 5 by 5. No, it's just I've been going to the gym now for like 2 years, and at the start of this year, I decided to actually try and do it, but also not eat like crap, and people think, surely there must be more to it than that. I ate a lot, and I mean like a lot, like an obscene amount of food. And so actually dialing back on that has meant that I've definitely made more of a physical difference to myself. But I'm a big believer in exercising the body as well as the mind.
I feel like how are you exercising the mind?
Well, the things every day. Like every day we're chatting, we're playing in games, we're having fun, we're thinking up strategies. I'm getting excited about Marvel and where it's going and thinking about how is Game of Thrones going to end now? It's got 3 more episodes. What's going to happen? All of these things.
So that's how you exercise the mind. Okay, I can do that. Yeah. That's fine.
My mind is,
the body is the problem.
But that's the thing is that then at the end of the day, my mind is exhausted, but my body isn't. And so I'd end up eating even more, just kind of grazing and just blah. It's just it was not good for me, certainly not my mental health, but my physical health as well. And so, I just tried to live a little bit more healthily. Brian Halinka, our good friend, what's he now? Like class balance on World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was someone messed up with giving him that promotion. Oh my gosh. But he's been kind of a fantastic inspiration to me in terms of he's got a couple of kids. He's got a busy job. he loves playing computer games, but that guy is shredded and doing all sorts of like calisthenics and like cool balancing, and he's like living life and enjoying it. And I think for ages I had excuses around I've got young kids, I've got this, I've got that. But the
you
reality
still
is,
do have young kids, right?
I do, but the thing is like I make time for World of Warcraft. I can make time for World of Gymcraft, and it's I think the only thing I've stopped playing off the back of going to the gym is Hearthstone, which is ironic because it's probably the most gym friendly game of all. You could sit on like an exercise bike and probably play a lot of Hearthstone.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
By just giving up Hearthstone time, that's the only thing you needed to give up, and you got, because if people aren't following you on
amounts of food, like
okay,
food.
But time wise, I mean,
yeah, time wise for me, I do sort of 45 minutes a day of physical activity, be it walking, the gym, or anything in between.
That's it. It's just 45 because the picture I was saying, for people who haven't seen the pictures, I mean, maybe you Photoshop them and you make it look like a lot, because you look really not to start some kind of seduction dance on you, but you look really muscular and fit.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted Patrick Beja to just say how fit I look. Like I said, it's one of those things that I've tried to, like I said, live a bit cleaner, and also it's understanding that nothing, and it is it's a journey, and listening and being humble. Like I go down to the gym and there's wise old muscular people who tell me that I'm arching my back too much, or I need to keep my chin up or put my chin down or stuff like that, and just making sure you don't hurt yourself in the process, and also don't let ego get in the way. I've been going, like I said, now for a couple of years, but still, like you put the weights up online and there'll always be someone, I benched like twice that. It's like, okay, cool. Fine. It's definitely a journey, and it's super preachy, but that's the great thing about Instagram. Instagram is all about being super preachy, and just talking about how fantastic your life is. And if only people use the same supplements that I used, maybe
so do you use supplements?
As happy. I have protein shakes now. Yeah, it's nice.
Wow.
They're a good. They help with recovery, so you don't get sore for as long after. So that as well. I also use anabolic steroids. I have lip fillers. Just normal stuff.
Right. So because when I first saw, I don't know why I didn't pay attention before. Maybe it's because my own young child is big enough that now it's become a little bit easier, and I have time.
Jeez, what's he bench? Yeah.
And I have a little bit more time, so I paid a little bit more attention. But initially, I was like, did he do some kind of paid promo to get at a gym and talk about it, and like he was forced to, like, some kind of movie contract where you had to get in shape?
You're like, who paid him? Come on, this guy doesn't do anything unless he... No, it's very true.
But I mean, it's like I was thinking maybe you had paid someone, if it wasn't that you got paid to do it, maybe you paid someone to whip you into shape, because it was very strange. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this all day.
I've used personal trainers. It's good. I think it is something that gamers should talk about, in that I think gamers make the best people for gyms, and the best people, because it is all about incremental progression. We're trained about, like, oh yeah, I put in a little bit of time and now my character is better. And that's all you do, like with working out and stuff, is you put in a bit of time, bit of graft, and you come out better than you went in. And it's a great feeling, and it does. I've definitely got more energy now than I did before I started going to the gym. And I've used personal trainers in the past, and I go to like group sessions and classes and stuff like that now. I think that is the best way, just because, again, I feel like people are more likely to injure themselves and then set themselves further back if they don't know what they're doing. But yeah, gamers, I feel like we got a bad rep out there. People think that we're lazy and we sit on our bums all day, and we do. But equally, we've got sharp minds, and we could, exactly. I feel like there's nothing intrinsically special about me or my situation, other than I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to get down and do something about it. I
All
know
right.
some people, their lifestyle or their whatever doesn't allow them to do it, and fair enough. Don't flagellate yourself over it.
Yeah.
But if
I
you
mean,
can, you should.
for me, I know that I probably wouldn't have the patience to go down to the gym and do it regularly. But what actually, to some extent, a little bit, seeing your pictures kind of inspired me to get back to doing the little bit that I do and that I often don't have time,
Good.
which is doing push-ups and squats and stuff like that just
Amazing.
at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I've almost reached the Saitama, One Punch Man training regiment, which is 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and I want to add 100 I don't know, sit-ups or something.
Yeah, well,
And
exactly.
just doing that a few times a week, 3-4 times a week is
hugely,
a little bit, yeah.
I think you're lapping everyone else who's just sat on their asses right now.
Yeah. I have to say, one of the reasons I did it as well is because I was starting to feel it was actually affecting, like I was getting sore everywhere and like not recovering properly when I was just doing 2 seconds of any kind of work. And
it's really, like I said, it's amazing. Like my metabolic age was close to 40.
Yeah. I'm 45,
I'm
so my
32.
metabolic age was close to 57 or something.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing is you start looking at like, holy crap, I've got the body of someone who's much closer to death than I want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, I love games, I love pop culture. I joke about it all the time. But leading up to Endgame, I say, like, literally, I just have to live another month, and then I'm there. I just need to see it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I
know
don't,
the feeling.
I'm doing myself a disservice because I know how important this is to me. And then you got kids, and you got to start thinking about, okay, well, I want to make sure they're okay for as long as I can, help them. So that's why I like to play Mortal Kombat 11. Holy crap!
Well, thank you very much for that inspirational little speech. And yes, as you say, let's start talking about video games. Just like exercise, everyone can do it, and that is partly why it's fun. So Mortal Kombat 11, I guess everyone knows Mortal Kombat. We talked about this a little bit when it was introduced. Very gruesome, very straddling the line between cartoony and gruesome, but really more on the gruesome side, but cartoony enough that it doesn't. It's not snuff. It's not a snuff game,
porn,
right?
Gore. A lot of like seeing the fatalities and the different fatalities you get, and the creative ways in which people like, oh my god, he just froze his blood and then ripped it out of his body or something. Yeah, that's crazy. It is. Kind of
the inventiveness of the fatalities is what completely gets me every time, and this time as well. So you've been playing it a little bit.
Yes.
I guess I have 2 questions. Is it a different enough Mortal Kombat that it's exciting for people who are not super mega fans of the series? And then is it just a good game?
So I've always enjoyed Mortal Kombat single player. I think the single player campaigns are actually really fun. The way in which the story and you take control of different characters across and the little cutscenes in between, I love the pieces. And NetherRealm have always done fantastic work. If you've ever played, not Infamous, what's it called? Injustice.
The DC one, Injustice.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite iterations of comic book lore, of like kind of bad guy Superman, and the quests around it. They do great storytelling, and so I think from a kind of a sequel, this is Mortal Kombat 11. From a sequel perspective, if you enjoyed the first one, you get more of the same. On PC, which is what I played it on, it's by default capped at 30 frames. You can get a mod that uncaps it, which makes it a little bit more fluid. It really depends kind of how anal you are about those sorts of things. The actual game itself is a very kind of straightforward, fun Mortal Kombat game until you take it online. So it's £50 British sterling. I don't know what it is in euro. Probably what, €60?
60. The regular price is probably 69 on consoles, and a little bit less on PC, something like that.
So the big hoo-ha around it is the microtransactions that are available in the game. There are certain encounters that NetherRealm are looking at that currently or at least when I was playing it before I went away this weekend, are basically impossible to beat unless you have microtransaction.
Just so we're clear, until now you were talking about the single player experience,
so
like the story,
exactly. For me,
which
is a big step forward from previous Mortal Kombat. Well, last one I played, 10X, was fantastic, and this is continuing to be fantastic. I love the kind of the like I said, it's kind of like, it is a bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit kind of B-movie in terms of its narrative.
Very self-aware.
Really fun.
Yeah.
And it's just, you want to get through the fights to kind of see the interactions as they go forward.
But that has nothing to do with the microtransactions issues. There are no microtransactions
exactly.
there.
That's all kind of a separate game that you can enjoy. And it's Warner Bros. Again. I remember chatting to you before about Shadow of War. And, like, it was a fantastic game until you go online. And then it's very much geared around how do we get further in-app purchases out of the players, it seems. Local versus I've played as well, and that's so much fun. It is, I think, the best way to play Mortal Kombat at my skill level, which is very low. When you go online and just do versus, you just get absolutely destroyed. There are a few things. So they have looked at. So there's these the Towers of Time are these areas where you encountered previously. You had these kind of nigh on impossible scenarios that apparently they have fixed or they've looked at in a update on the 26th. So I haven't played it. I went away on holiday on that day, so I haven't played it since. And it may be that they have taken it on board. But the frustrating thing,
why do you want to go to the Towers of Time mode? What does it bring? Is it just
they allow you to unlock different cosmetics and different kind of finishes and lots of different kind of unlocks through there. So it's not, none of these things are essential, and like I said, it really comes down to kind of where do you want to find your happy and your fun. It's like I said, it's tricky. Some people have reported a lot of desyncs on online. I haven't played enough versus in that I just didn't really enjoy that side of it as much. But I think again, a lot of these things are early day teething problems. For me, I liked the single player. I like the control scheme. I like the characters. I like the visuals. I think it's if you liked X, I'm pretty sure you'll love 11. And it's, I just think it's really, really good. The fighting is fun. It feels good. But the thing is, it's so dependent on your skill level. Like you're a big fighting game fan. Like you have an arcade stick, don't you?
I don't have an arcade stick, but I am a big fighting game fan, or at least
I thought you had.
Oh yes, actually I do. I forgot I had it. Yes, but I'm more. I'm in the fighting game community. You find a big rift between the traditional Japanese type games, which are a little bit more technical, and the American games, which are essentially Mortal Kombat and the NetherRealm games, which are a bit more flashy. They've become a bit. It's not to say that there isn't both in both styles, but the American ones, I play essentially to see all the fatalities, and then that's it, and then I'm done. But it seems like the single player experience is still cool. The Towers of Time, which is the online grindy thing, has gotten a lot of complaints from a lot of people. There's one thing you haven't mentioned yet. You can actually build and customize your characters in this one.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you can get like upgradey bits. I
thought you actually could like select different attacks for the different characters. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think I've done that.
Okay.
But again, I've been doing more the single player stuff. So maybe that's. I'm trying to remember if I've done. I don't think I've done that.
I think what I'm getting out of it. What I'm getting out of all of it is If you're a casual Mortal Kombat player and you're there for the cheesy, fun story and gruesome fatalities, you're going to be very happy.
The couch versus, like for me, like I said, the
Couch
most fun I
versus,
had
yeah.
playing this game was sat down with other guys from the office and just, just having fun. And when I went online, I quickly came up against people who were just way better than me, and I didn't have fun because my skill level is just not there to compete in that sort of world. So but I really enjoyed the couch sit down. It was good fun. The visuals are amazing. They are really, really good. I think I genuinely think it's a solid experience. It's just one of those things whereby games as a service for premium products just always feel a bit much. Like if you're paying a full ticket price for a game, which admittedly hasn't really changed in the past like 20 years, like games have always been sort of 40, 50 quid a fill, but maybe they were cheaper 10 years ago. I don't know. But it feels like games haven't necessarily moved on in price on the ticket side quite as much as other items have in everyday life in terms of just price inflation. Yeah. So maybe this is just a way to make it make sense.
There are a number of factors. It's also the production cost of a game has exploded, like literally 10 times more expensive to make a game nowadays, and it keeps exploding. But I also think there are ways of making those microtransactions feel more palatable. I think there are always going to be people who dislike them, but there are some ways of making them acceptable and some behaviors that are less acceptable. And it seems, at least in the beginning, before the patch, some of what was happening in that Towers of Time online component was making a lot of people unhappy. So exercise a little bit of judgment there, I guess. And the other thing is, if you want something really, if you're deep into Mortal Kombat, maybe wait, because if those customization things are behind the Towers of Time, although the really competitive mode don't allow, I think, for those customizations. So I don't know, maybe not. It's fun for Turpster, I guess, is the important thing to remember.
I think it depends where you're trying to find your fun. But yeah, certainly for me, I've had a lot of fun and want to carry on playing it. But I'm not too fussed about the online side of things.
Right.
So,
all right. Well, there you go. That is Turpster's estimation of where the game is. I'm going to be talking about Days Gone. Sorry, I'm doing 15 things at the same time. Days Gone is a game that was highly anticipated and then extremely lowly anticipated, and then people were like, I don't know, maybe it's going to be okay. And so now it's out, and people think it's okay. And I guess that's where I also am at the moment. Days Gone is a zombie post-apocalyptic open world narrative experience type game. And it's
PlayStation exclusive as well.
PlayStation exclusive, yeah. And in the past few years, the PlayStation exclusives have been spectacular. They have really been blowing everyone's mind repeatedly, which this one isn't. And essentially what everyone had been saying, which is this is going to be an unimaginative formulaic game, is kind of true. And these games, so I haven't played a huge amount. I've played a few hours, the intro section, so maybe things change after those few hours. But I feel like everyone's been saying the same thing, and that's also the feeling I've been getting, which is especially true, I think, since I am the client for those games. I'm exactly the target. ticks every box in my what games does Patrick love list, and still playing it, it was. I'm not having fun, but it's kind of it's happening. It's fine. I have to say the first half an hour or hour was so generic. It was almost like, I don't know, like being in stasis, like having neutral feelings, not good, not bad, but just time is passing and I'm experiencing time passing. I'm not having fun. I'm not bored. I'm just doing the thing on the screen, which like I've also heard that comment a few years ago, 5 years ago, this game would have been incredible. Like everyone would have gone crazy over the game. And that's how I felt very much from the get-go. But today, it's just something that we've seen before, with no spark, no soul. For those who know what Marie Kondo does, it doesn't spark joy, right? It's no. and there are games that
straight
are
in the bin.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Maybe you have to consider it a little bit longer. But there are tons of games that are great that have issues in the gameplay and that are inferior in some ways to Days Gone. Like the one thing that comes to mind, because it's so similar in theme, is The Last of Us. Honestly, The Last of Us has some parts of it, the latter puzzly parts, that are just bad. And yet, because the game excels in so many other ways, it's considered excellent. Days Gone has no bad element, no objectively really problematic element, but it doesn't have something that feels like a vision for why. Like, it seems like the team didn't have a clear idea of why people would want to play the game. They had a clear idea of what needed to be included in order to make a game, but not why people would be drawn back to it. At least until, the first few hours I've played. It's weird because there are some fun elements as well, some interesting elements, like the bike is a little bit gimmicky, but it does the job. The bike is kind of not your central hub, but it performs a lot of the functions that you would have at like your safe house or something. Like you can quick save at the bike. Well, actually, you can quick save in many places, but also at the bike, it has equipment, it has a bunch of stuff, and it works as the driving mechanic. It works, and it's you come to really be attached to your bike. It's dumb, but it works. The theme of the narrative theme is played out, but the drifter biker gang type aesthetic works. I don't know. Are you looking forward to playing that game, or are you in the camp of, I don't need to play it?
I don't think I'll pick it up. Yeah, exactly. I think for me, like when it comes to Sony single player exclusives, the thing that's always made them great is the protagonists and the stories are basically like these fantastic sort of 50-hour long movies. And this seems to not tick the boxes I look for, which is a super engaging story and really enjoyable, likable, or interesting characters. I feel like most of the things I've seen around this with Deacon, he looks like a young Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War.
A little bit, yeah.
And I don't like, nothing jumps out at me as like anything. He just feels generic. Like the whole thing feels generic. You call zombies freakers, they're still zombies, and it's like
that annoys me so much. By the way, the fact that no game or property wants to call their zombies. I think it's time to get back to
World
zombies.
War Z, and exactly, and they call them Z's. Like Okay, that stands for zombie, though. Yeah, we agreed. Like, it's War Z's
apparently,
coming in.
World War Z is doing pretty well. I think it sold 1
It's
million
amazing.
units.
It's really, and it's a really, really fun game.
Huh.
Like, it's a 4-player co-op, sort of Left 4 Dead, with kind of fun weapons, cool enemies. It's Left 4 Dead. It's Left
Right,
4
right.
Dead with I think it's 2013 movie IP and book, I guess. But it's a very strange kind of tie-in. But I guess, to be honest with you, if it didn't have that IP, it would probably be even less kind of interesting if I just say, yeah, it's Left 4 Dead. It's new,
Yeah.
you take on Left 4 Dead. But yeah, I think when you look at something like Days Gone and you rack it up against the other Sony single player exclusives, like Last of Us Part 2 coming out, and you've got God of War for some people who haven't played it, like, why would you play this? It just feels like if you're in a real gulf of content and you're just like, I just want to play something, then great, it will fill a hole, and it'd be one of those games you're like, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing. There are so many, but it's like a cost of opportunity nowadays. There are so many great things that I can't. I think I might play it a little bit more. I'm actually probably I'm not enjoying it. But it's always like I'm having fun at level 4. There's this other thing that could be providing me fun in almost the same kind of fun that I want. It's not just intensity, it's also type of fun. It could be doing it at level 7. Why am I doing the thing at level 4? I don't quite have but I still want to play it. It's very strange because I don't want to make it seem like it's not a good or fun game. I guess saying level 4 fun means there is some fun, but it's hard to justify using the limited amount of time you have for that game. It's selling pretty well in the UK. Apparently, it's selling pretty well all over. Okay. I think it's so easy, in gaming to tear something down or hype it up, and many of the games are simultaneously in both of those categories by different people. Some people love the thing, some people hate the thing, and they hate it more because others love it so much more and they don't get it. And it's like, and this one is like, everyone agrees, yeah, it's okay. I don't know, but you're not going to pick it up, which I understand.
No. My time is premium. And it doesn't reach my very, very kind of particular scoring of being a good game and or free. So
I think a lot of people who are looking specifically for that type of experience might have, it might be a fun purchase. I guess what I'm trying to say is I thought it was going to be a home run for me because I'm looking for those types of experiences exactly. And even for me, it's not a home run, it's just, it's an okay experience, then some people will be disappointed. And if you just want to relax and enjoy a world of zombies with little stress and post-apocalypse and depression, then that game might be for you. And I don't know, I'm talking in circles now. But I guess we go back to it, the conversation about Days Gone. Here is how you can summarize it. You can say, it's not terrible, but it's not great. But it's not terrible, but it's not great. And you'll go around in circles forever. And that's Days Gone.
But it's not free. And so when you weigh it up against other games, unless you've played them all, I think based on the reviews I've read and the gameplay I've seen, you're probably good to skip it. I feel like we're spoilt for great single-player content experiences in the form of TV and movies at the moment, that I don't need that experience from a okay-ish game.
Yeah.
If you've got a PC, like I said, World War Z, I've had a huge amount of fun in, and that was kind of
$35, I think.
It's super cheap and is a lot of a lot of gameplay, a lot of fun.
Well, you have to have friends to play that game.
You don't have to. It will put you with other randoms.
Oh, okay.
And that's fine as well. And also, you also get AI if you've got no randoms. And then randoms will drop in at different chapter points. If you're looking for a zombie survival-y game, that's at least on PC and has been a huge amount of fun that I've enjoyed.
All right. Well, I will add in conclusion that Days Gone is really pretty, really beautiful. And again, 5 years ago, people who would have been like aghast at how amazing so many of the things are. And some of, there are some UI things that are good, some that are crappy, but really interesting. It's just, yeah, Days Gone. I guess that's what it is. All right, let's go over a few tidbits of news. There's Gamestop in the US, and I guess it owns franchises in other countries as well, is trying something that I think is really interesting. It's creating a category of games that is called Guaranteed to Love, I think, for which you buy them, and if you don't like them, you return them to the store, and you get a full refund in-store credit, so they keep your money, which is key, I think, but no questions asked. And so you have 48 hours to try it out, and if you don't like it, you get your money back, and you have to spend it at GameStop. I think that's a really clever thing, and actually, the first game they're doing this with, I believe, is Days Gone. So if you think you might like it and want to try it out, that would be a great way.
Or you can complete it in 2 days. Really go for it.
Yeah. That is the other thing that people said. And I don't think that's going to be a real issue for GameStop, because even if you do, as I said, they keep your money and you have to spend it there. So it's attracting people to their store instead of maybe, Amazon or somewhere else. So yeah, I think that's a pretty clever move.
I think from my perspective, in the EU, we got a lot of consumer rights around playing and returning games within Windows. Obviously, Steam refunds are really easy. If you don't like a PC game, it's trickier with a lot of stores, because games have codes that you use and then they're done and they're redeemed.
So I don't think it's easy to return a game in a store a game that you've opened. You have to provide. I mean, you don't know that because you get all your games for free, so you're not used to how the things work in the real world.
It's a real issue. Because the thing is, my game budgets remain the same. I just spend it now in games, so I don't mind spending money in games. Everyone else is like, I spent a load of money. I'm like, I didn't. I got this for free, or I can expense that bit. This bit I can't, but I'm happy to spend it. It's a different world, but it's good to see this. And equally, to be honest with you, retail I think is super important for games, having that high street presence for kids to be able to rock up into a store and see everything and play stuff and experience what the magic of gaming is a great way to get into games. So I think that it's good to see, these companies try and stay more relevant and hopefully around for longer.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a desperate move for GameStop. They're not in a great shape, but I like what they're doing there.
I don't know how it impacts the developers and publishers. I guess GameStop don't report sales until 48 hours after. So if someone buys a game and then returns it, it's as if they never bought it to begin with.
No, I think they did buy it, but GameStop will sell it again as a pre-owned. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I don't think that impacts developers at all, except for the fact that
Well, exactly. They don't get a cut of that second sale. But yeah. Okay.
So I think it works out financially for GameStop. I hope it helps them out because they need it. Persona 5, there's going to be like 2 or 3 new Persona 5 games. The Royal is like the enhanced version. There's a Dynasty Warriors type beat 'em up that is called Persona 5 Rumble, I think, or S, or I can't remember the name, but it's coming. And there's even like Persona Q, which is a Persona Q2, which is a crossover with Etrian Odyssey, I believe. And yeah, so Persona 5, if you like Persona 5, there's more Persona 5 coming. I'm guessing you're not a Persona 5. Oh, Scramble, that's the name of the
right.
Dynasty Warriors type thing.
You guessed correctly. I
figured.
I don't like it.
You don't like Japanese stuff. That's fine.
No, not as a blanket rule. But it's not.
You
Where's
hate
this man?
Japan.
No, thank you, sir.
Exactly.
I remember Pearl Harbor. No, it's just from my perspective, it's just I've yet to be really grabbed My favorite game from Japan is the Phoenix Wright series.
Oh, well, so it is very Japanese, so I guess you get a pass.
It's very Japanese. But yeah, it's just for the most part, the genre just doesn't really mesh.
That's fine. It doesn't.
Persona just never really got into it.
Lots of people who don't like it. Super Smash Brothers 3.0 is available. It has Joker, Persona 5 reference, and a stage builder, which is pretty interesting. So you can go build stages in Super Smash Brothers. And talking about building stuff, Mario Maker 2 is coming out June 28th on the Switch, of course. I'm not a big fan of it for many reasons, but those who are happy. And something I am a big fan of, Marvel, the Ultimate Alliance 3 game is coming out on Switch as an exclusive on July 19. It's called The Black Order, but Turpster, I'm sure you're excited about this game. I am getting a little bit anxious about it because the communications we're getting is limited. They're not making a big deal out of it, where every Marvel game is a big deal. I worry it's going to be a subpar game, which I was hoping Marvel was done with, but I am very worried.
It is a exclusive, which is sometimes a worry, I think, with Marvel. So, yeah, I don't know. I love the Switch.
We'll
I love playing on the Switch.
Who doesn't?
But I don't know. I'm not too sure about picking this one up.
Yeah, me neither. I'll definitely wait for reviews, and I eat up everything Marvel, and this.
Yeah, exactly. Similarly, and the thing is what I like about is I play a lot of Conquest of Champions on my phone.
Okay, you're worse than me. I don't do that.
Well, exactly, but it's super simple gameplay in terms of like a beat 'em up, just swiping back and forth, tapping and things like that. But the reason I like to play it is because of all the characters in there. And it's got great character design. And I kind of feel like this is almost a step back in terms of the quality of character design. Everyone's like super shiny, super low res. And I get it's on the Switch, but still Switch games can look a lot better than this. So it's just, it's not enough to, visually to get me that excited. And the gameplay, looks fine. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, a Diablo, like a hack and slash game
RPG.
in action RPG in the Marvel universe, I'm all for it. And Ultimate Alliance has a good pedigree, but it's just the way they're communicating about it, which makes me nervous. But anyway, more Nintendo news. They have not sold the 17 million Switches they had promised in 2018. They came short by about, 500,000, really not that much. But the install base for the Switch is now 34.74 million consoles, which is crazy in 2 years. It's following the curve of the PlayStation 4, which is pretty successful. And it's more than the entire installed base of the N64. It's funny. It's slowly, or rather quickly, passing the benchmarks of the previous Nintendo consoles. Of course, it's probably not going to reach Wii numbers, but more than Wii U's and more than NFX.
Yeah, the Wii appealed outside of gaming. Like grandparents would get it and play Wii Fit and Wii Sports
twice, and then it was like a board game type experience.
Exactly.
For them.
Whereas the Switch, I find, is pretty much some people have Xbox, some people have PlayStation, but
everyone has a Switch. Yes, absolutely.
And it's they've positioned it extremely well. And like I've been doing a lot of traveling over the past few months, and holy crap, do I love the Switch! It's just like it is just so effortless. Download a couple of games before you go, take a little battery pack with you on a plane and enjoy it. Just holy crap, I play hours and hours and hours and hours of that. It's just so good. So I'm thrilled. They're saying that they're not going to talk about the new kind of cheaper Switch or higher res Switch at E3.
They have no plans for a new Switch at E3 this year, is what they're saying.
I think we'll hear it before the year's out. I think sort of October, later kind of end of Q3, Q4. I think we will hear about the new, because it has to be in time for the holiday season.
So you think it's going to come out?
Yeah. The rumors are they're going to do a cheaper Switch that is kind of just got no rumble, super bare bones, but a couple of $100, and then a
that's the rumors, but Nintendo has been saying no, we're not doing
but
that.
But Nintendo always says no. But they totally are. They must be. And me, I would totally buy a higher resolution Switch, like straight up, better screen on a Switch. Give me Bluetooth as well, so I don't have to have a cable for my headphones. I would easily drop more money on a more premium unit that still played all the games.
Completely agree. It is really
I just need to look better and be more playable.
It's funny how the Switch has become the darling of the gaming world in these past 2 years, because everyone loves it.
They've done so well with indies though as well. There's so many indie games.
Oh, that's a big part of it.
So they're really cheap, because Switch games are expensive, but indie Switch games, whilst being more expensive than their PC equivalent, are cheap. Like Stardew Valley on Switch, holy crap! That you could give that to someone, and that would be the only game they ever need for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I don't like that, but sure, if you do,
it's like $10. It's ridiculous. It's just so cheap, and So I'm looking forward to Nintendo doing what Nintendo does best, which is get the console in the hands of as many people as possible. And Labo was like an expensive thing that they. Oh,
did you do the Labo?
Yeah, Labo. Like I played it and stuff. It is impressive. It's just really expensive for cardboard, and kids are great, but like holy crap, they just break the cardboard. And you can fix it with sellotape, and you can tape it all up and decorate it and do these other things, but that isn't what you get a Switch for.
Right.
And it's great to see them continue to innovate, but I don't think we're going to see more from Labo. I think that it's not performed as well as it should have. As much as it's won, I don't think it's won the hearts and minds of consumers.
Yeah, agreed. Well, they're forecasting 18 million Switch sales in 2019, which is more than what they did in 2018. So it could indicate that they're expecting to release a new device for people to buy it again this year, but we'll see what happens, maybe towards the end of the year. And they also have announced they are reaching 10 million accounts for Nintendo Switch Online, which that's 200 million in their pockets right there.
Money. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Wow.
They're also starting the closed beta for Mario Kart Tour, and I watched a video that people claim is of that closed beta, but honestly, I have a little bit of a hard time believing it. I haven't made a screen-to-screen comparison to the Switch version. It looks really just like that, and it seems to control just like that. So if that's what it is, then it's really Mario Kart on your mobile, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which I'm all for.
Yeah, why not?
But I've got it on my Switch, so I don't know.
Well, do you not need your Switch anymore? Well, you don't have a controller.
Because it's got all the other games on.
Yes, exactly.
And on-screen keyboards and controllers are the devil. So it's really good to have Joy-Cons. Holy moly.
And that's exactly why gamers like us will never let go of their Switches. Sega is apparently not doing well in the mobile arena. That's a nice change, but it's interesting to hear that Sega has not managed to capture lightning in a bottle in the mobile arena, and they're returning to more console and PC games. They released a bunch of them last year. They didn't perform well, and the explanation for them is there's so much activity in the mobile world. It's difficult to get out of the melee, and also things have a lot less to do with quality of games and a lot more to do with marketing. Of course, that's the case in PC and consoles as well, but if you're Sega, people are going to kind of pay attention to what you're doing, and your game is going to be get some airtime in the media. And so if you make a good game, chances are you're probably going to sell reasonably well. In the mobile arena, it's kind of crapshoot. So Yeah,
I
they're
think
getting
equally with
back to.
mobile, what you have to remember is mobile is not made up of people who identify as gamers, and they aren't gamers by the definition that I would consider myself a gamer. So being a Sega game doesn't mean a huge amount in that
Yeah.
obviously Sonic is a global icon and people understand who and what it is, but it doesn't necessarily move to purchase. And they have had some really crappy mobile games that may have burnt whatever
That's
brand
another issue,
loyalties
yeah.
people had. When you look at the PC titles that Sega has, they've got Creative Assembly, so the Total War series. They've got Alien Isolation as well from Creative Assembly. They've got the Sumo game, so they've got Sonic Team Racing as well, which is like Mario Kart but team based. So it's kind of they compare it more to Overwatch than Mario Kart, in that it's not who comes first; it's which team performs best and most efficiently and stuff like that. And so they're building kind of high quality, good games that are around on PC. You've got Relic as well with Dawn of War and Company of Heroes. They've got some really good quality heritage games that aren't necessarily cash grabs. They are actually just good games. I feel like Sega's been doing PC exceptionally well
Mm.
over the past 5, 7, 8 years. And I think that the rest of the company is now catching up. I think the biggest threat to their business is the Sonic movie, because I think that is genuinely going to be one of the worst. I mean, video game movies have always had a bad rep, justifiably, really. But holy crap, is it going to be deserved? I don't know. Have you seen the Jim Carrey Doctor
I
Robotnik
have. I
documentary?
have. It looks horrendous, but
Again, it's the only thing that's starting to make Sonic look better. Yeah, it's, I'm really worried about what that does to the brand and the name. But such is life.
Mm.
So we'll have to see. But like I said, I feel like Sega's portfolio now is less reliant on the rodent and more so on their strategy
PC, yeah.
simulation games. So
Mm.
we'll have
Yeah,
to see.
I guess I'm like regular people. I don't really think about that when I think of Sega. But you're right. It's not just Sonic.
That's the crazy thing.
Anyway,
Exactly.
yeah.
We don't think about those, and actually, those are probably the higher performing
Mhm.
revenue things for them.
Yeah.
They're not in the console game anymore. They're just making software or publishing software. Even I don't really know how much in-house dev they do anymore, but they just have some amazing studios that they own or have relationships with. So I think that's the big thing. And so like I said, I've got no doubt over over the next few years we're going to continue to get great PC experiences from them.
Mm.
But I got to love like Yakuza games. There was a thing a little while ago where there was this a bit of a kind of a PR stink created because I think the voice actor or the main character guy
Yeah, Pierre
was
Taki. Yeah.
involved in some
It,
criminal activity.
Yeah, no,
And I'm like,
I didn't even talk about it on this show, but the only thing he did, poor guy, he was tested positive for cocaine, I believe, and in Japan,
it's like,
that's it. In Japan,
it's the
that
Yakuza
means
games.
death. Death. They
For
actually
me, that's like brilliant.
so they actually removed him from the game, from the Judgment Eyes game that he was in, with face capture, motion capture, voice, everything. They removed him entirely. The game was out. They stopped sales and
Wow.
removed him, cast someone else, included him to take his place, and they're resuming sales very soon. But like in Japan, you don't mess around with drugs. And not saying that hard drugs are good, but that seems a bit harsh. Like, he is persona non grata now. It's like it carries a heavy prison sentence, I believe, if you're maybe not if you're a user, but they don't mess around. But anyway, that's a tangent.
I know of other stories that sadly I can't repeat that are equally as hilarious, though, in terms of the misunderstanding of the digital world and some of these traditional actors. that mean that we have certain games not available on PC due to modding, because of fears around what modding can do to a character's or a person's likeness, or the control they
Okay,
have
that
over
is
their
very
image.
mysterious. I'm curious now.
Exactly. I just think it's hilarious when you look at games and stuff, and that people don't really get what it means. Like, and like, does it matter?
You're being
Doesn't it
very
matter?
cryptic. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I can't again, but
Okay.
basically, there's just, like I said, I feel like that whole world feels regressive in terms of how it handles games and performance and the rest. So we'll see what the future holds. But anyway, I think that, like I said, I'm not worried about Sega going forward. And fantastic if they cut back on the mobile titles that have never been particularly wow. Hopefully that means more resources and efforts going into the really high quality stuff they're putting out on PC and console. So fingers crossed. I want another Alien Isolation. I want another spooky game. We'll see.
All right. Very quickly, I'll talk about Epic. That Tim Sweeney, president of Epic, did something really interesting in the fight for the hearts and minds of gamers between them and Valve for the stores. He said, "Listen, if Valve starts giving the same kind of cut that we do to developers, meaning 88% instead of the 70% bracket they're currently doing," he didn't use those words, we'll stop the exclusives, and we'll even put our own games on Steam, and that will be wonderful. People will truly have choice. And
We're not the bad guys. Those money-hungry Valve guys are the bad guys.
I thought that was very clever. It shifts the responsibility of it on Valve.
It's the biggest thing. Like, hey, don't hate me, hate them.
Yes, but also I think it's kind of justified, because in that scenario, it is on Valve's. Valve is holding the power there. Anyway, I've talked about that dynamic a million times.
A huge storefront and support, and all of the customer service stuff, all of the loyalty. I think Valve can compete on their own merits, and I mean, Valve does well. Valve makes billions of dollars. It's the highest profit per employee company in the world. They are fine, and they certainly could take less of a cut. They have their tiered thing whereby if you sell over like a million units,
no, it's like 20 million. It's ridiculous. No one reaches
that. There you go. So, and it's equally not grandfathered back. It's just for anything beyond that is on the other split. It's they don't feel the need to compete on value.
They're enjoying the monopoly.
But the thing is that it's Sweeney is saying, like, look, I'm not a bad guy. Like, if they make it the same price, then we're good. We'll compete on value the same as they do.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to, I'm going to keep buying up all these titles and having these exclusives to grow my storefront. I don't think he's unrealistic, but I don't feel like that actually is fair to kind of say that Valve are the bad guys. It's not me. But the thing is Sweeney is an insanely rich man, and he can just whack out the Sweener, put it out there, and just say, look, I can do what I want, and it's cool. Like, one of the things people have to remember is that out of GDC, Epic signed a deal with Humble, whereby any exclusive titles can sell through Humble on their store, and just like Valve don't get a cut when keys are sold through Humble, Epic wouldn't. And Epic are literally saying, look, if you don't want to give us money, but you want to play these exclusive titles, go to humble.com, buy the game over there, and there you go. Like, money goes to charity, money goes to the developer. We get nothing. You get to play the game. Yes, you have to launch it via the Epic launcher. But if you want to object to Epic, you can do it that way. They constantly say, like, well, what's your problem? Oh, you don't like us? Cool. Well, don't give us money. Play the game. Oh, what's that? You want this? Well, if they change this, we'll do that. I completely understand that they're trying to compete in a very entrenched space with Valve and Steam. Steam still looks like a website from the early 90s. They haven't done much with UI. Their review system is the worst thing in the world, and I hate it. They let people just vote depending on their disagreement, less so than their actual play habits. I don't care if a game has put a female protagonist in, and a load of people think that that then means the game is bad. I want Valve to tell me, how much do people play of this game? Do they play more than they normally do, less than they normally do? Do they spend more in game than they normally do? Does it mean that, do they experience more crashes on their PC than they normally do? Valve has the data. They just need to share it and just be like, boom, this game here, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Here's what the data says it is, not what someone's opinion is. And I just feel like Valve has a lot of things wrong with it on Steam that, Epic coming along hopefully will encourage them to fix. But,
well, I mean, I could disagree with you on some of the things you're saying, but essentially the takeaway is that Valve has a monopoly, and so they don't care about anything. And my impression about this little bit of PR jujitsu that Epic was doing was that that's pretty smart. It puts the focus back on Valve. And apparently no one took the bait. It's obviously manipulative, and it's saying, no, Valve is the bad guy. I understand that. But it's not untrue what they're saying. It's not uninteresting. What they're saying is an interesting argument. But every reaction I've seen was from the people who were angry with Epic. The reaction was, oh, I don't care, I still hate you. Which I guess, I'm like, at that point, I'm putting my hands up in the air and I'm like, okay, whatever. But anyway, all right, let's not spend too much more time on that. And also, when you say Tim Sweeney is the richest man in the world, I do want to mention quickly the Polygon article about the crunch at Epic Games, which is horrifying. 50, 60, 70, 100-hour weeks not being uncommon, people being forced not by company rules, but like force of pressure to stay in on the weekends, and all the stories we've heard for years about crunch, just as bad as at Epic, and especially bad, maybe worse, because of the success of Fortnite and the need to keep updating the game all the time, which I've applauded in this show many times because it's compelling and it makes people stay in and play more. And but of course we're learning, we should have guessed maybe that it has a heavy cost. And yes, they're getting paid more, but they don't really have a choice in the matter. And Respawn coming out, Vince Zampella, Respawn coming out talking about Apex Legends, saying, you know what? We're not going to do the crunch thing because it's a game as a service, and that's untenable for the teams. And so we're just keeping the game at a pace of bi-monthly, every 2 weeks we do an update. And if it doesn't work, unless there's a game-breaking thing, of course, but if we need to fix something, we'll fix it in the next update. And we care about our employees, and so that's how we're doing it, which is great. But I don't know if it's linked, but the game has taken a nosedive in the popularity metrics that we have on Twitch and all of that, which I guess was probably inevitable. My feeling is that Respawn was like, holy crap, we're getting 50 million players in a month? That can't last, and it's untenable, unsustainable. That's not what we're looking for anyway. If we have a few million, we'll be happy anyway.
I don't know. So my unverified rumor, take it with a pinch of salt, is apparently, allegedly, Apex was such a kind of surprise launch because EA put all of their faith and marketing behind Anthem. And they were actually
which is delaying key features, by the way, because they're scrambling, trying to fix the actual game.
Yeah, exactly.
Key features they promised.
For whatever reason, internally, EA felt that Anthem was the horse that they should be betting on, and that's where they should be putting their efforts and resourcing, to the point where basically Respawn, or a decision was made at some level to, okay, let's just put Apex out there and just see what happens. And obviously it blew up. It was fantastic. Everyone loved it. Meanwhile, Anthem, just terrible.
Also blew up, but in a different way.
So yeah, exactly. So many quality of life issues. But as those looter shooters always have. At launch, they are just launched.
Yeah, Anthem was... We talked about this a lot on the show. I would argue Anthem was much worse, but anyway.
Much worse, exactly. So it's that sort of thing where I think that Respawn now have earned a little bit of like, well, we've made a heck of a lot of money. We've done extremely well. and we know that we can get those players back when we put out new maps or put out new characters, put out new stuff.
I'm not sure
And
they can, though. I think the momentum is really important in those kinds of games. And if you lose it, I don't know that it's, I'm not condoning what Epic is doing with Fortnite. Obviously not. We've talked about this before. And maybe we shouldn't be talking about it too much longer now, again, because it's repetitive. But I don't know that it's possible to have as big a success.
The big difference between Fortnite and Apex is the mobile version. And once Apex gets a mobile version, I think your player numbers you'll see will be fairly static and similar. And you look at it, all of the big games, when you look at the huge player numbers behind Fortnite and Minecraft, it's because there's a mobile version.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so Apex did exceedingly well, considering it didn't and doesn't have a mobile version. So
that's fair.
Apex will do extremely well once they do that, and they will have to do that. But yeah, I think EA is another interesting one where they've, I keep saying, "Oh, never again," and then looks like there's going to be another single-player Star Wars game. guess we're doing it again. Okay, here we go. So we will see.
We'll see. All right. I guess that is it for our talks about gaming. But if you're still here and haven't watched Avengers Endgame, I would suggest that you leave this episode and come back once you actually have gone to the theater, I guess the 7 billion people on Earth, and watch Endgame.
Yeah. Just do it. Remember, we love you 3000.
Exactly. And
bye-bye.
Yeah, so goodbye. Bye. We'll see you again in a little bit. And if you're still here, why are we talking about Endgame? Because it's my show and I do whatever I want. And Turpster loves Marvel and the MCU, and I do as well. And we wanted to. So there you go. I did ask Nicole if she wanted to, if she would be available for something like that and do a Movielicious revival.
Yeah.
Sadly, her kid is really sick. She's traveling, and she hasn't had time to. She hasn't had time to see it.
She had like an ear infection.
Yeah.
And then they had to drive home like 14 hours.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
that's terrible.
Literally the worst thing I can even imagine. But here we are. So Endgame.
So Endgame.
Episode 22, season 1 of Marvel.
Essentially, what did you think?
I loved it. I mean, the thing is like...
Sorry. Complete full spoilers from the get-go. Just so you know. We're going to spoil everything.
Yeah. So for me, it was just the perfect swan song to phase 1, 2, and 3. Like the fact that it felt like everything built to this moment, those character arcs, those character growths, from that first Avengers, about Stark, not being the one to make the sacrifice play, he would not crawl over the wire, he'd cut the wire, all the rest. To have him kind of, he's fine. Like post snap, he's okay. Like, yes, Peter's gone and he blames himself because he got him involved. But actually, if he's pragmatic about it, that snap again was 50% random. Like it would make no difference if Spider-Man were involved or wasn't involved. He would get snapped either way. And so he's there though with this, I've got this, I think I can bring these people back. And that is, he has to at that point. That character of Tony Stark has to do it. And the way in which they do the time heist it's frustrating in that any time you deal with time and time travel in a movie, it gets fuzzy, it gets awkward, plot holes are delivered. I don't know how many of them are intentional or not. But obviously it's fantastic in terms of the nostalgic trip we get to take and go and see Avengers 1 again from the sidelines. We get the nice little circle shot as they're all there in the Battle for New York. You see them, taking down Loki at the top of the tower. I kind of get frustrated. I want to see more of it. Seeing the other characters, seeing Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, with Professor Hulk kind of chatting to her and stuff. That was cool. That's so cool. It felt like fan service, but in world and so expertly well done. Game of Thrones, again, without getting the spoilers for that, has felt like fan fiction, fan service, where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's cool, or I get it, but I don't really feel like it's that satisfying, or it feels that grounded. Whereas Endgame for me just felt just so well placed. The humor that they carried on through from Ragnarok and Guardians was just brilliantly placed throughout. I feel like all of the jokes landed. I didn't feel like any of the jokes really were a bit like flat. Just all of them felt really strong. And it just, yeah, like I didn't cry during it, but holy crap, did I want to? I was, we booked out a cinema, so I was surrounded by people I work with every day. And I was just like, just keep your shit together, man. Come on, you can do this. But basically, anytime, you've got Tony and Morgan, his daughter, that whole bed, just putting in a bed scene was beautiful. Just Robert Downey Jr.'s like range and quality in this film was exceptional. And then just everything, just holy shit, what a beautiful send off. I don't know how it works in isolation. I don't know if you haven't seen the other 22 films or whatever.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it even matters. I think some people are saying, it's still a movie, and I guess it is. But it's like some things people said about Infinity War. The last chapter of a book is not a book. It's like it might work as a chapter, an individual chapter that might have some excitement and fun, but it's the one that in the case of the MCU, it's the one couple of movies where really you can expect people to have seen everything, or at least some of the other things. Most of the other movies work as standalone movies. These ones, not so much. I mean, I think it doesn't matter if they don't, but overall, I'm right there with you. It's not perfect. You alluded to some of the time travel thing. I think, yes, there are some plot holes, and it is frustrating if you're like...
And I don't know, with the Disney Plus, they're doing a Loki series, so I don't know if that's going to be following the events of 2012 Tesseract Away Loki.
Well, that's the most likely thing, yes.
Or, again, if it's, Loki the early years and stuff like that. I don't know if there's a reason for those kind of...
It might be, but it's still plot holes, because either they create a bunch of parallel realities, but they said they weren't going to, and if they don't, then some things don't make sense, because 2014 Thanos is dead, and he doesn't go back to 2014 unless like Tony actually snapped him back, but that doesn't seem like that's what he did. And as you said, Loki has gone away and he's taken the Tesseract, so unless Captain America beats him over the head with Mjolnir and gets him back there, and like he has forgotten that he left, then Loki isn't in that universe, or in where he should be for even Thor 2 to happen in 2014, right? Like a bunch of things.
The reason they give for the time travel is that can't change your past. So as much as you're going back to the past, it is an alternate
then it's
past.
A parallel reality.
So it's exactly. But then the Ancient One says that without the stones, those realities are screwed. So then Bruce says, okay, well, we'll travel back and we'll give you back the stones the instant you've given it away. So for all intents and purposes, it never left.
Yes, but the fact that the characters are still not there.
Captain America put the Space Stone back in the Tesseract? How does he rebuild the Mind Staff, Loki's staff? All of these things. It's like how?
Well, that
does he go back to Asgard and inject the reality ether back into Jane. Like, how does it work? Like,
what happens when he?
I guess not.
When he's on Vormir and shows up and he's like,
Red Skull's there.
Red Skull. Oh, hey, shit. How's it going?
Bam. Should we tango? Like, does Nat come back, or is he just like, no, you can have the stone back? All of these things, I don't know how much it matters, how much
I think it doesn't really. I mean, yes, it does. But if you're hung up on this, I think you're really missing on the joy of the incredible quality that everything else does with this movie. Like, first of all, the coming together of so many things, so many threads that make it seem like it was all planned from the start, completely make up for the inconsistencies of time travel, which also in themselves are completely made up for by the fact that you can go back in the Marvel universe to re-experience some of the things that you love and have seen so many times from a different perspective. That alone is, something magical that they've put together that I don't think we expected. I think a lot of people expected either they go and beat up Thanos and take the stones and undo the snap, fine, or they go back in time travel. And time travel, I don't think anyone expected them to go back and revisit maybe some people did, but I certainly didn't. And retcon so many things into making sense, like the Ancient One being in New York and, defending the Sanctum Sanctorum. And it's so perfectly crafted. I think the MCU does not get enough credit for the cleverness of its writing and the way the movies are constructed.
Yeah, exactly. Like they wrote from the first Avenger through all the Cap films to both Infinity War and this.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic arc.
They also wrote Thor 2, so they have a few duds in there as well, I guess.
Yeah. But I think even then, like the fact that when you look at it's tricky with so in the universe we are going forward, there are no more Infinity Stones.
Right.
They've been destroyed in our timeline, and the ones we borrowed have been replaced. So there is, in theory, no way to introduce those stones again going forward.
Well, I mean, it's comics. Maybe they can say the universe reforms them because they can't exist. The universe can't exist.
Maybe. And that's the thing. We've got the Eternals movie coming up next year, which would deal with more of the cosmic foundations. It will be really interesting to see where the MCU goes from here. And with the retiring of, Captain America and Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth seems to be sticking around.
Yeah,
and
which is kind of cool.
As Guardians of the Galaxy, yes, please. To have Thor. Hopefully, he'll be involved in Guardians 3, and it won't just be
we left him at the station there.
Exactly. Yeah, he's still. I want to have both him and Quill working out, trying to get back in shape. I was reading someone on Reddit, someone was saying you have Quill even doing some dumbbell reps, and he's getting back into shape, and then it kind of pans out and you see Thor's lifting the whole Benatar up and down or something like that. And you could see just that kind of jokey rivalry between the two. And then if they do come across Gamora and find her, they alluded to the fact that it was between Quill or a tree, but now it would be between Quill or Thor.
No, I don't. No. That can't be that. It's terrible.
I like that. Well, that would be good. In terms of she's oh, hang on, I like this other guy. And Thor's, he's a big flirt. But then still to somehow kind of end up with Quill, and that would be beautiful. We'll see. James Gunn said way back when that Guardians 3 was going to be all about Gamora, and so I guess now it's the hunt for Spock, search for Spock. It's going to be trying to find Gamora, and then it is a different Gamora, or the same. Is she good? Will she be good? Can she fall in love again? Will she join the Guardians again? Should she join the Guardians again? It'd be interesting to see kind of what that looks into. And then Thor 4, or hopefully they call it Thor, will be is kind of in discussion to be greenlit soon, with Taika Waititi coming back on to direct that. I feel like there's so much excitement going forwards that when you look at Endgame, it's got the beautiful last battle that does have a very forced kind of female run where it's just all the female characters together.
I've heard people be sort of a little bit queasy about that one. I can understand.
It's just there's no need. At no point is Captain Marvel ever seeming she hasn't got it handled. She doesn't need any help.
Yeah, I understand.
How's she gonna get it across there? I don't know. She just blew up a ship with her head. She just headbutted a ship and it blew up. I think she's okay.
I agree.
I feel that whole run would have been far more effective with them, as they kind of did a bit, kind of escorting Spidey across, and him having the support of all these other strong female characters. And I think that's super empowering. And 100%, we see it all the time for all the kind of the male hero role models I had the benefit of growing up with. So I think it's great. I just think that Captain Marvel doesn't need help.
Yeah, I think it wasn't very. The thing I've heard some people interpret it as was a message to the trolls, which you can see Thanos's army in that shot as like an army of trolls, and it's like, yeah, F you, we're still gonna keep going, as you know, and the irony is they haven't been going with female. Now there are a bunch, but it's very late to the party, so it's kind of. But anyway, I agree. This was not very skillfully made. But yeah, I mean.
What a film.
And the moment when Cap gets Mjolnir is probably the most exuberant joy I have felt in my life.
So my only reservation there is obviously Odin's is whoever is worthy should have the power of Thor. Mm-hmm. And every time when Thor got that hammer in Thor 1 and stuff, he kind of instantly healed and got re-armored. And what I really wanted is to Cap to start that fight in his old 2012 crappy thing. And then when he gets Mjolnir, to turn into his cool scale mail thing that he has. I think that would have been a cooler sort of like, oh, well, no way. But I kind of feel like obviously there was a pacing and a thing whereby it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I
think
kind
that's
of feel
where...
like it would have explained the lightning and the other power that he could wield with Mjolnir.
I think Mjolnir. But I think that would have been incredible for comic fans, but it would have been a bit too much for moviegoers. And what these movies do best is straddling that line and doing the things that movie fans want and what, doling out some fan service in a way that is unbelievably satisfying. And by the way, keeping the Avengers assemble for that last movie is I literally cried when he said Avengers Assemble. The 3 times I saw the movie, I saw it 3 times already.
And the thing is like I kind of feel like Thanos was more of a threat in this movie with no Infinity Stones than for the whole of Infinity War.
Well,
like him going all out, and that his Thanos copter. I love that his
well, he's younger.
Blade.
Maybe he's 5 years younger.
It's like, but that's the thing is like he hasn't lost. He hasn't had to sacrifice to get the stones. He's had them gifted and given to him on a plate, and so he's got no appreciation for what that is. And he knows he's overconfident. He knows he snaps. He knows he gets to do this. He wins. So he goes in so cocky and so foolhardy, but equally knowing that he has to finish these people. So he's going all out. And it's like him wailing away and breaking Cap's shield. Like, whoa, like that was intense. That's intense. And even then, like after all of it, you see him, beam in all of his troops and you're like, oh, crap. And then, on your left, just so
that
much,
moment.
So
oh my God.
Exactly. So, and they stretch it out so beautifully though as well. You're like, oh shit, this is it's so good.
Well, okay, this was just a very quick impressions.
It's a meandering thing, but basically, holy crap, what a fantastic experience, what a great film, what a brilliant season finale to season 1 of Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is just so beautiful.
As you said at the beginning of this show, I'm so glad that I lived in a time when I saw all of this. And I said something to that effect on Twitter. Whatever happens in the future, if the MCU starts sucking ass, and if
Star Wars
things
has taught us, it will.
Possibly. I like the new ones, but you're talking about the prequels, which I agree with you.
Well, I'm talking about like Force Awakens.
Oh, what?
Onwards,
okay,
really.
we would have
Force
an
Awakens
interesting.
Was okay, but I think certainly
The Last Jedi. I love it. We would have a really interesting episode of Movielicious.
But anyway, what we're looking at here is that we've lived in the golden years.
And
this is the golden age.
We will always have this. Like, no matter what happens, we have those 22 movies, which are, so incredibly satisfying. And they were so unlikely to happen. It's a miracle. It's a cathedral of pop culture, which is, it's not an actual cathedral. It's not solving world hunger or anything, but it is incredible. And
And you think about
really
how it's changed the landscape in terms of comic book movies are the biggest movies in the world, and thusly comic books are bigger and some of the biggest things in the world in terms of entertainment. And
Yeah.
so then people who have traditionally enjoyed those, who were previously on the fringes of society, are now fully in the mainstream.
Hmm.
The acceptance it's made for geek culture, like Game of Thrones, kind of led off the back of Lord of the Rings, and people were like, "Holy crap, fantasy's really cool." And then you look at the uptick in Dungeons and Dragons sessions in the past sort of 5-8 years. I think that the MCU has opened so many eyes to the magic of sequential storytelling and how you can build bigger stories. Like TV has improved naturally over the past decade anyway. But like, yeah, we've lived through this, and this is great. And I can't wait to see more. Already, what they're going to do with Black Widow movie. Holy crap! She did.
I would love for it not to be
yeah.
a prequel, though. I would love for it to be something.
But the thing is, even then, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like it will be, because
no, it's probably going to be. But I'm just saying,
Yeah. So again, all of that is just like, I'm excited to see what the future holds. And
me too.
Yeah.
And
like, what a great time to be alive. With all the other crap that's going on in the world, we've got Trump, Brexit, and the rest of the world. What a fantastic escape to say, you know what, for us, we're actually in the longest period of uninterrupted peace for the largest part of the world, for the longest duration, and we've got fantastic stories like this. I'm loving it.
I'm loving it too. Thank you for being on the show with me, Turpster. If people want more of the tea, where would they go?
So you can check me out over on Twitter, just twitter.com/the_T. That's me, and I tweet maybe 4 times a week now. So, you can really, some of them are great tweets as well. I got quoted on IGN the other day for my Game of Thrones tweet about complaining how dark it was. I had that hot take.
It was very dark.
It was very dark. I said I thought it was going to be thematically dark, not just actually very dark. But
how clever.
Again, I know. That's why they put my tweet at the top of their article. Wow. Thank you, IGN. You're welcome. Yeah. I just got a lot of random people now messaging me saying, like, well, you're watching it on a phone, you dumbass. It was, so cinematography. And it's like, okay, right. Okay. Well, it's more of a just a humorous perspective, but thanks all the same.
I watched on a 4K 65-inch TV, and it was very dark as well. So there you go. I'm coming to Turpster's defense.
Thank you.
But he doesn't need the defense. He's so ripped now. He's like Captain Marvel. I'm
exactly like Captain Marvel. I'm gonna go get the same haircut. And holy shit, I wish. No, I'm more like Fat Thor at the moment, but I will be like Thor Ragnarok in another sort of like 3 years.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
For me, it's and probably your wife as well. I'm Not Patrick on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and this show is available at FrenchSpin.com. If you want to comment on what we said, be them the games or the movie, please feel free to do so, and we will be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. Talk to you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.